Colleagues, welcome to today's event on the Ukraine-UK Twinning Initiative. I'm Janet Beer, I'm the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Liverpool, and I have the privilege to be the International Policy Lead for Universities UK. Can I begin today by first offering a very special and very warm welcome to the many colleagues joining us today from our partners in Ukraine. We're honoured to have you with us. There is an added poignancy, if we needed any more, to today's session in that the 28th of June marks Ukraine's Constitution Day, which marks the adoption of the Constitution of Independent Ukraine in 1996. And can I just make sure that everybody's got their mic off if they're not speaking, because I think I can hear somebody having a tea party, but that's all fine, just have it quietly. So, as I've said, this is a hugely symbolic moment, and I hope that it will, refocus, if we needed to refocus, all of our minds on the profound need for our continued cooperation, collaboration and support. So we would also like, from the UK, to offer our thoughts for the many friends and colleagues who've lost their lives in the conflict and the many millions that have been displaced by the war. I know we all shared similar feelings of shock and horror at news of the invasion of Ukraine, and we support unequivocally the people of Ukraine in their fight against the invasion. The deplorable bombing of the Kremlin shopping centre yesterday is yet another reminder of the immense human cost of the invasion. So we offer our thoughts and our condolences to our colleagues and to all of the victims, and pledge our support to you in the face of such unimaginable hardship and tragedy. We understand that words are not enough. We heard clearly from our colleagues in Ukraine, from academics and from universities, that they wanted our support to ensure that they could continue to work, continue to provide education and opportunity, and to ensure that they have the capacity and resources to contribute to the national effort at such a critical moment. We listened to what our colleagues in Ukraine said they needed, and from these conversations, the Ukraine-UK University Twinning Initiative was born. As I'm sure you're all very much aware, the aim of the Twinning programme is to support the integrity of the Ukrainian higher education system during the war, and to enable it to emerge stronger after it. We now have more than 80 UK universities signed up to the scheme, and more than 70 partnerships have been confirmed, and I'm sure that number will keep rising further. I would like to recognise and pay tribute to the energy and commitment of Charles Cormack and the team at Cormack Consulting Group for driving this initiative forward, alongside the many colleagues in universities in Ukraine, here in the UK, and to thank Vivian Stern and the team at Universities UK for coordinating the work and for convening today's session. The commitments being made today are for the long term. They signal the beginning of relationships that we hope will exist for many years to come. Today's an opportunity for us to reflect on what we've already done and how we can continue to collaborate and build links between Ukraine and the UK, which will far outlive, we hope, the current crisis. And so on to today. The purpose of the session is threefold: to recognise the immense achievement of our Ukrainian colleagues and partners, to formally recognise the signing of more than 20 new partnerships, and third, to share examples and experiences so we can learn from each other and ensure that our partnerships have the opportunity to make the greatest possible impact. We were hoping to have a message today from President Zelensky signalling his support for the initiative, but it seems unlikely that, it is unlikely that we could possibly be joined by the President, given what he's having to deal with after yesterday's events. We are hoping to be joined by Olga Budnik from his office, but it may be the case that she can't make it either. We will just, with your indulgence, colleagues, be flexible, and as people arrive, we will give them the opportunity to speak. However, definitely in this Zoom is Melinda Symmonds, Her Majesty's Ambassador, Melinda Symmonds, who is the British ambassador to the Ukraine. And I would like to welcome you, Melinda, and invite you to address us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So fantastic to see all the greetings in the chat from so many different institutions. It's really, really great to be able to join you all. I've been in this job for nearly 3 years now, 3 years of a 4-year posting. And in that time, even actually through COVID, I've managed to visit so many different Ukrainian higher education institutions, and they've all been amazing. There are several that stand out. The displaced University of Donetsk in Ivano-Frankivsk, how an institution managed to move physically from one invasion-affected area to another with all the support that it was given. Catholic University of Lviv, and the most amazing session with their international relations students. I think the one that really stands out for me is when the G7 ambassadors group, which of course I'm a member of, paid a visit to the West Ukrainian National University in Ternopil. It was the first time G7 ambassadors had done a regional visit together. It was during the UK presidency, so I was chairing it. And the students there were completely unfazed by the presence of all these ambassadors in their great hall, and proceeded to give us all a thorough going over on our views about Ukraine's position in the world and what our different countries should be doing to support them. And the thing I took away from that really is that when you bring inquiring minds like that together with those in our own country, really it can only benefit both sides. The more of that, the more exciting the partnership. At the British Embassy in Kiev, and of course the British Council in particular, we've been working quite hard to encourage those links between UK and Ukrainian universities. And in the last few years, there have been a few British Council programmes delivering on that specifically, which many of you I'm sure will know of, and that includes the Leadership Development Programme and the Teaching and Learning Excellence Programme, and actually my personal favourite, Creative Spark, which has the focus of development of enterprise skills and creative economy, which is underpinned by grants, which helps build partnerships between universities. You mentioned the invasion, of course, and you know, one of the great miscalculations of many by President Putin is that some of the very objectives he had of driving countries apart and of weakening alliances has so far had the opposite effect. It has strengthened alliances, it has strengthened unity, and it's also brought about a huge change in the scale of the relationship between UK and Ukrainian universities. Because before this invasion, they were relatively few and far between. But now, you could legitimately say that they are widespread and that they're deepening and that they're doing this at pace. All 4 corners of the UK are represented in the UK response to the twinning scheme, and all types of universities are represented too, from the ancient to the modern, from big institutions to the small specialist institutions, and the same is true on the Ukrainian side. You know, I had to learn Ukrainian for this job. It's a hard language to learn, but I learned it. And in learning it, of course, and I've got an undergraduate degree in foreign languages, so I know how important language is to building personal understanding of another culture and reaching out to that culture, and learning Ukrainian has been no exception at all. I know that one university, Birmingham, I think, has already established a language exchange with their partner, and with Ukrainian language provision now being planned for students in the UK. And that sort of reciprocal benefit should really contribute to much stronger and much better understanding future relationships from people to people. The intention of this twinning scheme is to be the start of a long-term partnership, one that's going to support Ukrainian universities to play their full role in the recovery and the reconstruction and the future success of a strong Ukraine once this invasion is over. And that is something all of us wants to see happen. Thank you very much.
Melinda, thank you. Again, we're really delighted that you were able to be with us this afternoon. I'm sure it's not easy for you either. We were hoping to be joined by the Ukrainian ambassador to the UK, and I think, if the messages are right, that His Excellency Vadim Pristeko is with us. So without more ado, I'd like to welcome the ambassador and hand over.
Hello, I hope that I can be heard. judging from your smiles. Thank you very much. It's a great honor for me to be here today and be able to listen to these ideas. How can we promote the cooperation, closer cooperation among the universities? Since the war started, obviously we have many difficulties, and some of the difficulties is how the kids are getting into the universities right now, this year. And this is a tactical thing, but we still have to figure out how we're doing it. I've been able to talk to the State Secretary for Education, and we hope that some of the institutions will allow our kids, especially those ones who are finishing the school and getting into universities, will be allowed to go through the final exams to be able to start the new year. But that's tactical. Talking about more strategy, for many Ukrainians, it's not an immediate priority of the cooperation among the universities right now, but we have to think and look into the future. So the question is how we build up the new relationships between the higher educational authorities and institutions, how we manage to establish more creative ways and I don't know, some mechanisms which would allow us to cooperate in both educational process and in scientific process. I know that this is a good initiative to be able to allow them to create working sort of cooperation, working couples, if you wish. From our side, we've been always promoting this, and I don't know how far we can go right now. What sorts of ideas are being exchanged already? So if we have something more creative than the usual university to university, maybe the issue of the recognition of the educational systems and programs and achievements. The last thing we discussed with Minister of Education of Ukraine is how to create a system which would allow sort of registry of the all educational achievements of Ukrainians throughout the whole life, so the educational life process. We are working right now with Amazon Web Services on creating such a system. I know that something very close here is already existing. We will come sooner or later to the very important point here of recognition of the diplomas, recognition of the educational achievements. So all of these ideas, we will be more than happy to listen and to learn from your experience, and hopefully with this support from UK from here, we will be able to promote the cooperation among educational authorities and the institutions as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Now, I have no fewer than 7 emails, 3 WhatsApp messages, and 2 texts telling me that Olga is here. So I'm very much hoping that Olga Budnik, who's the advisor to the plenipotentiary of the President of Ukraine, is going to speak to us now on the issues of the President's Fund of Ukraine for support of education, science and sport. Olga, over to you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, ambassadors, councillors, vice-councillors, participants. We really planned that Mr. President can send you personal address within our conference, but each day Russian military attacks changed our agenda. Yesterday it was a huge bombing on a shopping center where peaceful civilians spent their times. That's why today Mr. President authorized me to greet all of the participants from the Presidential Fund and ask to announce that he wants to highlight the importance of this initiative for Ukrainian educational and science system. In this, the role of the representation within the twin initiative on permanent basis will be put on the Presidential Fund for support education, science and sport, institution which closely work with the Ministry of Education and Science and the Office of the President of Ukraine. Let me congratulate you with this important initiative of twinning and thank all of you who have already put efforts to help and strengthen the Ukrainian universities. We really appreciate that the guiding principles of twinning are to support Ukrainian universities and the integrity of the Ukrainian higher education system by supporting universities to continue to support their academics and teach students within the Ukraine. What is important for us is to minimize brain drain caused by the war by allowing students and academics to maintain their link with their universities. We also hope that the minimum 5-year commitment made by international universities involved will become key in the renewal of the Ukrainian higher education system after the war. We were and really grateful that the UK twins are currently supporting with the immediate needs of Ukrainian partner universities, academics and students, and have already committed significant funding and efforts. But what is much more important for us is to make such cooperation on systematic basis, and we believe that the development of dual degree programs, support with the capacity building, introduction of the new quality assurance models, and the development of Ukrainian universities will bring us to the future, which we are fighting for on all fronts, not only on military, but also on educational one. Thank you for leadership in this initiative, Cormac Consultancy Group and UK universities that put a lot of efforts to make our cooperation very fruitful and deep. We really appreciate the support from the UK government and believe that our collaboration will bring historical results. The hardest thing for us is to look into the future and plan something, but we want and we will do everything to bring the future for Ukraine. Wish you fruitful cooperation and bright results with this initiative. Thank you very much.
Olga, thank you so much, and thank you. I can only imagine, in a sense, the difficulty that you must have had in joining us this afternoon. And universities are in the business of the future. This is what we do. We educate the citizens of the future. We produce research that will address challenges of today, but also the future. And I think as a sector, I don't think I've ever seen in my career in higher education, the sector coming together in order to work in partnership with Ukraine in quite this way. I think everybody is with you, and we salute the spirit and bravery of Ukraine, its government, its people, and we are always inadequate in terms of what we can do to help in such extreme circumstances, but we are working to do our best in order to support you, but also to support you for the future, not to cease our efforts the minute the immediate crisis is over, but to help you to rebuild. This is an important part, I think, of the twinning partnerships. Now we will move to the part of proceedings where we're going to sign and announce the partnerships, and they will be signed formally, I think, live. Many institutions, including my own, the University of Liverpool, were really pleased to have this opportunity, and on such an important and indeed poignant day. We're going to do this virtually. So can I just ask all those who are signing their agreements to do so as soon as a short video listing all the partnerships that are going to be signed, and that's around 30 seconds in length, has finished playing. And once that has finished playing, you might want to wave the signed articles in the air at your colleagues. Anyway, over to you. Okay, everybody ready to do a bit of waving? Come on, Gavin, start it off. Right, here we go. All those signed agreements being brandished. Thank you very much. And we're now going to hear from one of the partnerships that has already been established, the one between Kyiv National University of Technologies and Design and Sheffield Hallam University. And so we've got Professor Chris Wigginton, Pro Vice Chancellor for Global Engagement and Academic Partnerships, and James Richardson, Director of Global Development and Partnerships from Sheffield Hallam, and Oleg Shevchenko, Director of the KNUTD Institute for Internationalization of Higher Education and Science. So the Kyiv National University of Technologies and Design. Colleagues, over to you.
Good afternoon, and thank you everyone for your time here. Just a few brief words of introduction from me about the partnership between Sheffield Hallam University and Kyiv National University of Technology and Design before I pass over to colleagues James and Oleg from the partnership. As I'm sure is the case with all of the institutions here today, I'd want to contextualize this twinning initiative within our two universities' wider approach to partnerships and international collaboration, and in particular, that whilst there are clearly some immediate and pressing interventions that we are working on together, we both see this partnership as a strategic and long-term project. And there are, as we speak indeed, colleagues working across discipline to discipline, department to department, on a range of teaching, research, dual award, policy initiatives in computing, health, law, sport, education, arts, and several other fields. And indeed, as Oleg and James will outline, what we are focusing on are collaborative and capacity building initiatives that are scalable and sustainable. And on that sense of the importance of long-term support, whilst recognising current concerns, can I also, as has been done already indeed, briefly thank UKI and CCG for their support in partnering our two organisations. Finally, I'd also want to mention wider partnership working, because Hallam's wider partnership network has been really keen to engage, indeed has KNUTD with that network. And in particular, La Trobe University are working with us, as indeed is our network of further education Yorkshire-based colleges. And that connecting, broadening, as well as deepening of what we do, I know is really important to all of us here. So on that, can I pass over, please, to Oleg and James?
Okay, thank you, Rob. Good afternoon, Your Excellency, dear colleagues, participants. First of all, I would like to thank and express my sincere gratitude to Cormac Consulting Group and Sheffield Hallam University, which helped launch this twinning project scheme in Kyiv National Technology and Design University. Its further implementation today, in these difficult times of insidious Russian aggression, when the Ukraine needs radical reforms in all areas, including education, the student-centric strategy of our university development in focus on primarily on needs of students and really needs such practical support. Therefore, in our opinion, the format of twinning cooperation is most optimal and expectedly promising. But before, I would like to express your couple of words about our university. Kyiv National University of Technology and Design is a multidisciplinary educational, scientific, and innovation complex with well-developed infrastructure and modern technical base, which provide multi-level trainings of qualified specialists in various specialties. The university is a leader in training specialists in design, fashion industry, chemical and biopharmaceutical, mechatronics and computer technology, management and business design, and also cultural, creative industries and law sphere. The university has of unique scientific schools and carry our research and innovation activities and are recognized both Ukrainian and abroad. The university management system certified according to ISO 9000 is highly professional and educational recognition, confirming its competitiveness in position of national international ranking. For example, in regional QS rating, we are among the 400 of the best one. We are also especially proud of the opinion of Kyiv Institute in the Tsili University Technology in China, the first institution, we are the first institution in Ukraine which received a license from Ministry of Education of China. This opens the door to the export of university education service abroad. Such extraordinary achievements give us the right to present the Ukrainian higher education system with dignity and feel like an equal partner with the best British university, Sheffield Hallam University. Therefore, first pilot priority was very quickly identify the search of motivation factors for education of Ukrainian students. Development by university project team evaluation approach will identify 6 art students from the College of Arts for participation in summer school in United Kingdom. This is a really important intermediate motivating result. So here are some key pillars that support this idea of cooperation. Firstly, the ability of third-party catalyst moderator. In our case, it's Cormac Consultancy Group, who take care of finding our coordinated and related university significantly reduce the time and resource. Second, the joint development of metrics of compliance, which to meet the expectation of CNUTD departments, our university departments, and the ability of the British partner to meet these requirements and allow us to quickly determine the priority of scientific and educational phase of contact and eliminate duplication, establish expectation of separately departments. So just as it's very shortly, and I would like to give the floor to our UK partners to listen their independent assessments of the project going. Thank you. James, please, your floor.
Thank you very much, Oleg. So I'm just trying to drive the presentation as well. Here we go. Thank you very much. Thank you, Oleg, Your Excellencies, colleagues. It's a real pleasure to be here today to introduce to you the way that we've been working and this evolving partnership. I've been working in international higher education for over 25 years, and I've never ever been involved in a partnership development quite like this. The speed of the development, we signed the MOU on the same day that we first met. I've never witnessed anything like it. The absolute willingness and enthusiasm of all staff to engage in the development is at times overwhelming and is certainly quite difficult to manage because so many people at Sheffield Hallam want to get involved with this partnership with KNUTD. There's a genuine sense that anything is possible, but we have got that sensitivity of wanting to do the right thing both now and in the long term. The slide before you presents a programme of work, what our commitments are for this twinning activity. But in that very first instance, all we did was we listened, we talked, we listened some more to try and understand how we could help. It has been incredibly hard to find a balance between being collaborative in an equal partnership when the operating environment is so unequal. The living and working conditions of our colleagues and their students at KNUTD is incredibly challenging, regardless of if they're in Kyiv or somewhere else in Ukraine or even displaced somewhere across the world. So it's been quite difficult to manage those early meetings, understanding the circumstances our colleagues find themselves in. However, in those early meetings, KNUTD, Oleg and colleagues made it absolutely clear that the priority was to provide motivational opportunities for their students. They wanted the students to re-engage with learning, however small it may be, but just giving them opportunities to engage once again. We settled on 2 pilot projects initially. The first, as Oleg has mentioned, is some art and design students coming across to Sheffield this summer. We're going to give them the opportunity to plan and execute an exhibition of work for all of the students in their cohort. This exhibition will be open to members of the public, and students will have the opportunity to talk through the work that they have produced and their fellow students have produced. But the students will also have an opportunity to engage in art and design creative workshops in our studios at the university, as well as a chance to improve their English language and take part in some social and educational activities. We've also identified PhD students. to give particular support in giving access to our online learning resources through our library. This is part of a national initiative as well, and embed them into our research communities at Sheffield Hallam. Now, these are just pilot projects. We're going to try to see what we need to do so we can expand these in the next academic year in 22-23. We have also completed a matching exercise of our respective teaching and research staff. We will be jointly developing curriculum and portfolio to enable collaboration between the students at Sheffield Hallam and KNUTD, with an aim to deliver activity at scale. We are looking at our research collaborations, collaborative online international learning, for example, in performance art, dual degrees, as well as two-way student mobility in the years ahead. There is now a global awareness of this twinning initiative, and we've received an offer of unbridled support from La Trobe University in Australia. As Professor Wigginton said, they are our global strategic partner. They've contacted us to say anything that we need to help KNUTD is available. And we now have the initial seeds of a research collaboration looking at the environmental impact of the invasion on Kyiv, and that collaboration will be three-way, involving La Trobe University. In closing, I want to share with colleagues an inscription above the door at Stellenbosch University in South Africa, quoting Nelson Mandela. It says, "Destroying any nation does not require the use of atomic bombs or long-range missiles. To do this, it is enough to reduce the quality of education and allow students to cheat during exams." The future of education in Ukraine is the future of Ukraine. We stand with Ukraine in the recovery and the rebuilding of your universities. Thank you. Back over to you, Janet.
Thank you very much. So, in the green room at the beginning of the meeting, that Oleg did warn us at the beginning that an air raid siren might sound and force him to leave the meeting. So it's just a salutary reminder for all of us of the conditions that colleagues in Ukraine are working through. Your Excellencies, Ambassador Simmonds and Ambassador Prishteko, thank you so much for being with us. And of course, Olga, we so appreciate your words and the President's support for this initiative, and we will hope to keep in contact as the work progresses. I'd now like to bring in my colleague Vivian Stern to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Janet. And I'd just like to start again by thanking Their Excellencies, the two ambassadors, and Olga for giving up her time in an extremely difficult period to share the President's support for this initiative. I have to say that I join with the comments made by a number of people already so far today in wanting to express my real astonishment at the scale and speed of the UK and Ukrainian universities' response to this initiative. It's a source of enormous pride, I think, to lots of us who are involved, and I think Charles would probably agree with me that when this initiative started, we had no idea whether anybody would get on board, and the fact that within a matter of days, partnerships were formed, institutions were committing to things that under normal circumstances I think would take months of negotiation, and to be able to see today the culmination of all of that effort in the signing of the agreements that we witnessed just a few moments ago is, I think, really astonishing. And it also seems to me that this initiative has momentum. We've heard described by Olga and by the two ambassadors how important it is that this isn't seen as a short-term response to an immediate need, but instead it's seen as the beginning of a partnership that will be sustained over a period of years, and that it will be critical not only, we hope, to sustaining institutions through the immediate crises that many of you are facing, but also that it will be a small contribution towards the strengthening of the Ukrainian higher education system, and therefore the strengthening of Ukraine in the future. And that seems to me to exemplify, I suppose, the principle that in any great crisis, one can ask oneself what you can do, what I can do to address the need that is presented by the situation. I think that to have a professional avenue to do such a thing is something that should give us all some satisfaction. So I just want to thank the very many individuals together on this call for the efforts that you're making. Individually, they mean a lot, but I think collectively they amount to a very significant strategic intervention. And I hope that over the course of the next few years, we in Universities UK, but working very closely with Charles Cormack, who has been a superstar and whose idea this was, will be able to continue to bring to your partnerships the underpinning support you need by searching out funding opportunities, by putting in place cross-cutting support or individual institutions cannot meet needs on their own, and by crowding in support from other partners around the world. I think that's something that we're already seeing great enthusiasm for. So thank you. It's a privilege to witness the efforts that you're making, and I'll hand back to you. Thank you, Janet.
A privilege indeed. Thank you very much, Vivian. And thank you, colleagues from the UK and from Ukraine especially, for coming together this afternoon to celebrate the work that we're doing together at a time when celebration is in short supply, I'm absolutely sure. UK colleagues will be rejoining a second conference call at 3:30, where we're going to be talking about the work that's going on through the twinning scheme, so that we can make sure that we are capitalizing on learning, so that we're learning from each other all the time, and we can leverage that learning in order to benefit our Ukrainian partners. So thank you all again. It's been a wonderful celebration of cooperation and mutuality, and as Olga said, it's future facing, and we all need to think about the future and the education of our young people, and indeed their rights as citizens. So thank you, everyone. See many of you shortly. Stay safe.